Hello, I'm making a video showing this 400mm T28. I think it's the best 400mm warbird you can buy. Definitely, if you don't have this in your collection and you like the small warbirds, I would pick this up. Or if you're a beginner, this may be the easiest model for you to fly, especially if you're really fixated on a low-wing warbird type of plane. I barely had to do any modification to this, and people consider this the best flying 400mm warbird. There's a couple of reasons why. One is the electronics are V1 and they don't have the speaker for low battery, so that makes it a little bit lighter, and this model is hardly painted because all this white foam is not paint. So being that it doesn't have the speaker and it has very little paint, it's very lightweight. So I can put on my scale, I can't move the camera around, and it only weighs 42 grams without a battery. The two-bladed props fly much more smooth, and they have more thrust at low speed, so they're better at flying slow and they're better at flying fast. So the modifications I've done is I bent all my linkages to be set to level once I flip the transmitter to manual flight. Let me move them. So once I move the transmitter to manual without adjusting any trim, the plane automatically is pretty stable. But then I trim it out and make sure it's stable on the floor first and then in the air. I really like to adjust my rudder on the floor by holding the plane up like this and the other way and just trying to eyeball the rudder, because it's a little tricky to perfectly adjust your rudder in there. And then the other adjustments I do in the air. So the only modifications I've done to this is, like I said, I bent the U-links, but I also coat the U-links with some crazy glue to make them stiffer. Then I took some clear tape and I taped over this hole, and I taped over where I removed the landing gear so I can reduce drag as much as I could. I removed the battery tray and I cut a little bit of foam out where inside here, where the battery now sits a little bit in here now. Be aware of where you're cutting foam, because if you follow this line and you try to cut foam really close to the motor, you can cut through here. You can also use a soldering gun and just burn a little bit forward the slot of where the battery sits. You don't have to do this modification. I did this after the video. I just filmed the flight footage, but it improves CG even a little bit more. And let me show you the CG on this warbird. It's very short, so I'll try to get it where I can angle it. That's the best I can show. The plane wants to slide sideways. But they have this line right here, and the CG is actually a couple millimeters, about 4 to 6 millimeters ahead of that. Let me get this guy out and see exactly where the CG is. So we have a wing chord of 73 millimeters. So the CG should be roughly 18 millimeters, I believe, for a stable flying warbird. And let's just measure where I know the CG is. So I've measured where the CG should be, and it's bang on. 18 millimeters. And like I said, moving the battery just a little bit forward is what I did. Stock, the battery sits all the way back here. And the CG is still ahead of the line, but moving the battery the way I did gives you maybe like 2 millimeters more forward CG. So, oh, let me show you another thing, because some people have asked me about this. I fly on 35% expo as well. And I want to show you the battery I use.
Welcome to Edge TX. Switch warning.
So right here, I just want to show what protocol it is. I hope it's not flipped for video. But it's V761. And then going over, you see I use roughly 35 to 20 expo on everything, if it can focus. I think that's everything. This plane's really nice to fly, I'd say, for the money, depending where you buy it from. I'll have an affiliate link if you want to support the channel. No extra costs. It gives me a decent amount of money towards more planes. So if you want to use that link, please do. But definitely, if you like 400mm warbirds, this is a must to your collection. If you want to start flying 400mm warbirds, I highly recommend this one. It's almost, it's hard to say what this flies like. It's a really tough, almost like a UMX, but only this T28. The other ones do not fly like that at all. So I'll get to the flying footage and show you my battery one last time on one that preferably has a sticker still. Let me show you my batteries indoors, just in case I didn't get it too clear outdoors. Well, that's not working. Oh God. Anyways. I'm using a Turnigy 300 mAh battery. It weighs 10 grams. This holds, over time, the capacity much better. And when actually using the plane, it holds higher throttle burst better. I've noticed a higher throttle overall with this as well. I get about 10% higher throttle because I'm using the nanotech batteries and not some random batteries that are probably years old, that were probably meant for a vape or something. So anyways, thank you, and let's get to the flight footage. I'm flying with a Turnigy 300 milliamp. It weighs the same as a stock battery, and it's more reliable output. So I'm gonna get the camera on my head now and show you the most stable 400mm warbird with minimal modifications. All I've done is adjusted the rod links, coated these with just a tiny bit of crazy glue, the U-links, as well as the carbon fiber spars where they connect. And I also squeezed them into position mechanically, so they should be very minimal trimming.
Welcome to Edge TX.
I'm flying on all 35% expo with 100% rates. I have not moved the servo or anything on this one because you have to take the wing off or make a cutout to get more elevator throw. I'm flying on the two-bladed propeller because it flies better slow. So I take off with the gyro since I have no landing gear. Oh, and I also taped up and removed the landing gear. I taped over the spots, and I taped over this to try to lessen drag. So I'm in beginner mode. Let's go to mid mode actually. It gives you more elevator. And I'm gonna toss it into the wind. Okay, now let's switch to manual mode. And this is manual mode. And I've quickly realized I forgot my sunglasses. So trimming it because it wants to climb still. This is 50% throttle. Man, I'm really squinting here. Here's a roll. Let's try inverted. Doesn't do inverted too well. I was max stick for that. You can fly inverted, but it's not too comfortable doing it. Let's see how much I could slow down. This is 50% power right now. This is about 40. 30. Really gentle flyer. It weighs only 43 grams without a battery. A roll while not losing altitude. Let's go for that again. Lost a little bit of altitude on the exit. Not too bad. I'm gonna turn down the power to 40% again and do a couple of circles. Just keeping it at 40% power so I can slow down. And it's like 5 to 7 mile per hour wind right now. Do a loop. Does everything you want a little warbird to do. It is the lightest out of all the warbirds because it's not painted, and I'm not sure exactly why, but this is the most nose heavy 400 millimeter as well from the factory. You have room to move the battery further up with this model as well. I may try that. It's very easy to do. You just only have to remove a little bit of foam. Coming in for some nice passes. Let's do a rudder turn into a low pass here. I would say it's kind of a beginner model. It's more beginner model than the 500 millimeter brushless for sure. There's no 500 millimeter brushless I would recommend for beginners, especially without modifying them and flying on a nicer controller. But the stock T28 flies very well. I'm gonna come in for a low pass as if I was gonna belly land. Try not to lose orientation after passing through those trees. But you see, it's very predictable, I would say. Wind's going back and forth. I can't even tell which direction it's going half the time right now, but it's not too crazy. can coast fairly well. So the only mods I've done is adjust the linkage, so when you flip it into manual, it's automatically pretty close to being stable. It needs a little bit of down elevator to fly level, because it has a really good wing design as well. Out of all the 400mm warbirds, this one has the most lift generating wing due to the bottom design of it. Flying at 40%. It really just comes in, that's no hands on the stick, 40%. Comes in pretty stable. Let's go again, 50%, no hands on the sticks. And then hands on the sticks now. And I'm gonna go again, 50%, level it out, no hands. And manual mode as well. So it has some natural stability to it for being a low wing trainer. And having a little bit of wind. Wind's kicking up right now. But it's still fighting it. All that natural nose weight stability. You can see it's really rocking in the wind now. It's kicking up good. So I'm gonna come in for a landing. I'm gonna stay in no gyro mode. Just try to come in a little hot, keep the wings even, cut power, and there you go. Pretty good flyer, I'd say. I would begin with this model out of all the 400mm if you're going to be picking one up.